started. We're going to go ahead and begin so that we can move through this and then transition to the school's honor night. Thank you all for coming. My name is Ray Sheets, and I have the privilege of being the faculty sponsor for the school's History Honor Society. The History Honor Society, a few years ago, began the process of putting this Teacher Hall of Honor together. But I'm going to turn things over to the Honor Society's Vice President, Maria Sanchez, and she will give you background and then move into the rest of the proceedings.
Okay. Well, hey everyone. Like Mr. Sheets said, my name is Maria Sanchez, and I am the Vice President for History Honor Society. So I just really wanted to welcome you all, first of all, to the Franklin High School's Hall of Honor. So the Franklin High School's Hall of Honor was established in order to recognize former faculty, administrators, and staff members who have limited difference on students and the school as a whole for the last 100 years. It was established with a donation by Franklin High School's class of 1959. And it's going to welcome its next members today with a ceremony and reception. And those members will be forever commemorated with a plaque in the entrance hall. In future years, we look forward to including more faculty members so we can really recognize all of the different contributions that have been made throughout the years. As a student, I can personally attest to how powerful teachers can be. And this sounds cliche, but good teachers make good students. It really just helps motivate us and keep us going. Nominations for the Hall of Honor inductees may be offered with the completion of a nomination form, which may be obtained in the front office over there during school hours, of course. This year, we are gathered to honor the careers and contributions of Dorothy Doggett, Virginia Grimes, John Utlett, R.T. Tuttle, and Pat Tyler. And now, it is my pleasure to turn things over to Ms. Harmon.
Hey, Pat, since you're so nervous for me to introduce you. But it is my great pleasure and honor to say a few words about my friend and mentor, Pat Tyler. To say that she was an influential teacher is an understatement. Pat is considered a legend at Franklin High in math circles all around Middle Tennessee. To illustrate this, I wrote a visual. She loves visuals. Several years ago, during homecoming week, all the math teachers dressed up as Super Pat. With a cake and a mask. That's how much we thought of her. She was above and beyond. And the tag read, it's a bird, it's a plane, Super Pat. It's faster than a TI-83 and can calculate the volume of any tall building with a single formula. Some of Pat's roles and awards include Teacher of the Year, the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics Teaching, Middle Tennessee Math Teachers Association President, Mu Alpha Theta sponsor, Math Team Coach, Math Department Chair, mentor of countless teachers, and role model for countless students. Pat not only taught students the skills that they needed to master for the math course that she was teaching, but it was honors geometry, AP statistics, or AP calculus, but more importantly, she taught her students how to think. She would spend hours planning and designing rigorous lessons that required her students to use higher order critical thinking skills. She even led professional development centered around this. Pat has one of those brains, unique brains that uses both the left and the right side. Even though she's extremely analytical, she has a creative side too. We went to countless stamping parties, etc. But this translated also into innovative lessons for students and craft lessons for colleagues. She also had a creative filing system. Call 2, call 3, all the way through call 100. But if you saw her room, it looked like a disaster. But she knew where everything was. If you asked her for a math magazine from 10 years ago, she could walk to one of her files and even pull it out for you. She never threw anything away. Teachers that took over her geometry classes are still sorting through her stuff. In fact, she still has things in the math workroom. If you know Pat, you also know that she's somewhat of a rule follower. I just remember one story when we went to the AP conference in Moorhead. It was her daughter and me and her, and we were driving and we were going to a dinner after the workshop, and we had to get there on time. Well, I think she was driving. Were you driving?
Yes, and you want to
She, so we go the wrong way on the interstate, and we're going, and it's 10 more miles until the next exit. When Pat took over the math curriculum specialist position at the central office, she made major improvements to the math curriculum and helped implement significant positive changes to teaching strategies. One of the many things that makes Pat stand out as an outstanding teacher is that she had extremely high expectations for her students and her fellow math teachers when she was department chair and later when she was the math curriculum specialist. Pat had a way of encouraging you to do your very best. As a result of her high expectations and motivation, her students excelled. Her AP scores were exceptional and consistently above the national average. She had numerous students score in the top percentage at local, regional, and state math competitions. She's still using her coaching skills to motivate her grandson now to excel in math competitions. She made sure that her grandson knew at 18 months old that a stop sign was a hexagon. She also got teachers like me to go beyond our comfort zone and make presentations to local and state audiences, serve on committees, mentor other teachers, rewrite math curriculum standards, etc. We all knew how hard Pat worked and how much support that she gave us. In short, Pat is a hard person to say no to, because she's always right there working harder than anyone else that she asks to help. I can't think of a more deserving recipient into the Teacher Induction Hall of Fame, and she'll always be Super Pat to us.
I should say this, it's really easy at Franklin High School to be a good teacher because there are a lot of good teachers who taught before I got kids in my class. So all I had to do was just carry them on a little bit further. But I thought you were going to say you were going to give me a hat that said ADD on it. Everybody was going to think it meant ad. That's what book person meant. But anyway, I appreciate this. I know it all my years at Franklin High School, and I think I still see a lot of students. I've had a lot of children of students, even when I went to Burke Academy, I had children of students out at Franklin High School. So I guess it goes on and on and on. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Tyree. Now we're going to welcome Mr. Inman to say a few words.
Good afternoon. Glad to see all of you here. This is a special occasion that I was a part of last year, and I'm honored to be a part of this year. I'm often asked, why did you become a teacher? And this time of year, I often ask myself, why did you become a teacher? But the truth is, I became a teacher because I was inspired by other teachers. Teachers who had shown strength and courage and wisdom and character. And teachers who believed in what they taught and expected the very best from their students. I was fortunate enough to have had teachers like this. And I've also been fortunate enough to know teachers like this. And there is no better example of this master teacher than the lady we honor this afternoon, Artie Tubman. Artie was one of the first people I met at Franklin High School. She was my down-the-hall neighbor in the old building in the 400 Hall. And she was my across-the-hall neighbor in this building. And she was a no-nonsense teacher, I would say, who expected students to follow instructions, to do their work. She was famous for taking her ruler and measuring to make sure their margins were up to MLA standards. And she taught students to read and comprehend. She taught them to write and to write well. And as a teacher of seniors, it was always obvious to me who had Artie in the 11th grade during their junior year, because they knew what they were doing when they came in my room, much like you were saying that. Her tests were legendary. And she made her students conscientious about doing what was correct. Students would strive for excellence and you knew she would accept nothing but the best. A couple of stories I want to tell. The year Artie decided to retire was a new textbook year for the English department. And these textbooks, which weighed, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 pounds, excuse me. That was the Stipperson comment. These books weighed a tremendous amount, and so they were packed in smaller boxes, about six to a box. And Artie said right on at the beginning, please bring these boxes to me when they're empty. I could use them. And so we did, and almost every day we would see her leave school with one of these boxes under her arm. And all through the rest of the year she did, until the end of the year when we looked and noticed that she had taken all of her things that belonged to her out, one box at a time, and never said a word about it. Also, when she retired, she wanted no fanfare. She was adamant about this. Wanted no fanfare, and many of us tried to talk her into doing something special involving the whole school. She said no. We tried to talk her into a celebration with just the English department, and she said no. And on the last day of school, I found myself in line with Artie, turning in my end-of-year checkoff sheet. And I turned around and I said to her, well, it's about over for you, or something like that. And Artie, you opened your mouth to say something to me, and then you didn't. And then when I turned around again, you were gone. So we have missed you, and it is wonderful to see you here today. You know, over the years, your name has come up frequently among those of us who are still here. And you are remembered as much for your tenaciousness in the classroom as you are for your warmth and your generosity as a colleague and a friend. You are a teacher's teacher, a teacher who set up and kept high expectations of your students. You had tremendous influence on them, and you also had tremendous influence on us. It is an honor, a privilege to induct you, Artie Tuttle, to the Franklin High School Hall of Fame.
This came as a surprise, and it came so quickly that I really couldn't avoid it. I really do not like to draw attention to myself. I will say that my fondest memories of teaching in several different states, really my fondness would be here. And I used to say that I cannot remember one single day when I didn't learn something from one of my students. And I think a lot of us who teach can say that. Some things I learned I could have done without, but most of the time it was something that was very worthwhile. And I really thank you, Ms. Honor. I appreciate it. And thank you.
Well, now we're going to welcome up Mr. Womack to say another few words.
Good afternoon. I have the privilege of introducing Mr. John Offit. My first few years of teaching at Franklin High School were John Offit's last few years of teaching at Franklin High School. I was a fledgling new teacher who was an academic stalwart. In fact, it's altogether possible, if not likely, he doesn't even remember my name. That, however, is the nature of teaching, and in particular, the nature of great teachers. The impact that one has on others far outreaches the knowledge of one's own impact. One of the things I remember most about John Offit was his reputation with students. First, he had an athletic reputation. He would often be at the Franklin Rec Center to get in a mile or two of swimming before school, or jump in afterwards to get in a mile of running. He was an athletic legend with students. Perhaps he should be inducted into both athletic and academic Hall of Fame tonight. He made the moments in every day count so that he would be a better person. And I think that's a lesson that was not lost on many people in his life. Making those moments count, I think, also guided his teaching. I recall early in my career, as a first-year teacher, going by to show off a journal project my students had completed. It It was full of their personal stories and nicely decorated binders, as a new teacher will do. John often patiently listened while I showed a few of them to get his feedback, and then he kindly questioned, "It seems like an awful lot of work for limited academic feedback, or academic value." While he did not know it, that moment impacted me as a teacher. The time one has with students is limited. Don't waste the moments of knowledge. Make all the moments count. Because he made the moments count, his academic reputation was superior. His room was a few doors down from mine, and I can recall watching students both enter and exit his room, speaking to the day's lessons, not wondering what the homework was, but with an engagement for knowledge. One of the goals of education is to push individuals to be their best and challenge them to move beyond their perceived limits. I have no doubt this was occurring in his classroom. I had a class of journalism students at the time, and another class of student council students at the time, who often had him as a teacher, Mr. Offit. Their words were always the ones of respect and appreciation for him in his class. As a colleague, though, perhaps what I most appreciated is what he brought to the school. In those days in particular, FHS had a faculty with a reputation for being a bit rebellious. We were rebels. Rebels are positive when they're speaking out for injustices the world over and advocating for those that aren't heard. In his final years of FHS, I think we had 4 principals in 4 different years, each with a different vision of where the school should go. On more than one occasion, I can recall John Offit speaking out for teachers and students at various meetings, bringing a sense of justice and balance in the conversation. He was willing to advocate what was the best for the school. He embodied taking action when action needed to be taken. John Offit was a rebel in the best connotations of the word. He questioned authority while seeking solutions. Mrs. Dickerson often speaks about getting the right people in the right places. For what I've known of him, John Offit is one of the right people, and Franklin High School is a better place to call it. With the art of teaching, the impact that one has on others, far outreaches the knowledge of one's own impact. John Offit has impacted legions of students and left behind foundational seeds that will continue to flourish for many years. We proudly welcome him to the Franklin High School Academic Hall of Fame.
Now, y'all know me, better than to believe all those nice words. Talk about being a rebel. If you're not in trouble, at least once in a while, you're really doing something wrong. Mark Twain said, when you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to flag. I was, I guess like the rest of the teachers here this evening, certainly didn't expect anything like this. It was a surprise when I got the call last Thursday. And, just here trying every day to do the best job I could do, and just kind of let the chips fall, where they do. It's hard to please everybody, at least some of the time, but like Pat, we're just doing the best that we could do, and I hope it was valuable to somebody. Thanks a lot, y'all.
Can virtually guarantee we will see Mr. Offit again, because my understanding is we have spelled your name wrong on your plaque. Should there be an H?
Well, 76 years there has been.
I appreciate your flexibility, but I think we're going to get you another plaque. So
I think this one's actually, yeah.
Okay.
We'll let that old guy go.
He needs to be dragged out by the next time. Just a little insight about the Hall of Honor and how this works. A couple of things. I think the people that we're honoring tonight are famous. They deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because your names do pop up again and again and again in this building every year. They really do. But when this idea came forth a few years ago, Mrs. Dickerson cleverly said, I don't know if this should be a Hall of Fame, it should be a Hall of Honor, because teachers aren't in this for the fame, but we do need to honor them and honor their contributions to our community. And everybody who is being inducted tonight, it's not one person from the school's faculty or one person from the community who has put your name forward. think each of you were nominated on at least 3 separate occasions this year, either by an alumnus who is called into the school or talked to someone at the school, or a faculty member who has submitted a form on your behalf. So we have a special group together, a group that the community as a whole has deemed to be worthy of honor and remembrance. And so what we have is not just the plaques you have, but we also have this rather large plaque to which each of you will be added after tonight. And it's going to be in the entryway of this school. So as long as the building is here, we're going to have this plaque up, and you'll be a part of the building and a part of our community here. Our next inductee, Virginia Grimes, I do not have the pleasure to know, but I've heard fantastic things about her. Mrs. Dickerson over the years has mentioned her name on several occasions, and I've heard alumnus talk about her at great length. She's apparently a Renaissance woman, not just of English, but of the industrial arts. And I've heard that her teaching of Shakespeare here in the community was rather legendary. She passed away just a few years ago in 2014 before we began this process. But again, her memory carries on in our community, and she was nominated multiple times this year. And we are very privileged to have our granddaughter Alice here joining us to accept the induction plaque on her behalf and perhaps to say a few words to us.
I don't have much to say, but please know that this is a tremendous honor for our family. We are just thrilled to be here and this very deserving award. Thank you.
And our last inductee tonight, sadly, we couldn't have with us or have anyone to represent her. But Dorothy Doggett is someone that served Franklin High School in mid to late 1960s, into the early 70s as a teacher of English. In the school yearbooks, when you go through the archive year after year, there are pictures of her teaching and apparently partially performing Macbeth to her classes. And you can see in the way the yearbook has embraced her that it was an important part of the senior year every time she took center stage for that. She taught again at Franklin in the late 60s and early 70s and then moved to BGA, where she finished out her career again very notably, and is one of the few faculty members that they have in their school hall of fame. She was inducted there in 1992. So it's been a while since she's been with us in the building, and she couldn't be here tonight. But Dorothy Doggett will also take place on our wall of honor just inside the front entrance as our 5th and final inductee tonight. And I'm going to put her on the spot. Mrs. Dickerson, would you like to come up and say a few words just in closing before we wrap up?
Get a mic and they mad at me. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out this evening and helping us honor all of our 5 inductees. You all very deserving. I hope they told you that this was a dream that we had, and it was the class of 1957 that gave us the seed money to start doing this. So if you know people in the class of 67, thank them. Likewise, in 57, likewise in the class of 67, also contributed. They're the ones that were nominated Ms. Doggett. And so for that, we're just thankful, because every time we have a class reunion, they have a little money left over. And so they kind of give some back to the school for this Hall of Fame. And likewise, they always are nominating former teachers. So we would like to say to you, if you that are seated here, if you attended Franklin High and there's someone that you would like to nominate, you can bring them out. We do have nomination forms inside the office, so that you can help us add to our wall of honor. And we notice that we call it everything: Hall of Fame, Wall of Honor.
to, if you care, follow this podium, which is trying to roll away from me at this very moment, to the school's honor night in the auditorium. And we will again present your names at the beginning of the honor night tonight. But right when we're done this evening, this is going to go back up on the wall, so that hopefully when you enter the school now, you'll remember to look to the left and see some of the teachers who have helped build our school.